Hey, want to welcome everybody back. It's Friday, so it's got to be love and learn time. And so really looking forward to today's conversation as we have Kristen Slechta from ESU 9 and Ellen Stokebrand from ESU 4 and Lynne Herr from ESU 6. And I'm the only one not wearing my I Heart Public Schools shirt.
Woohoo.
That's right. It is Feel the Love Friday. And I did look, I have 4 t-shirts that are I Heart Public Schools. I could not find any of them. So I either need to do laundry or organize my closet a little bit better. There's something off in the middle.
A good sign if you're wearing them, Andrew, beyond Feel the Love Friday. So that's
there you go.
Thank you. That is true. I should just lie and say that I have it underneath here. Maybe. But I was looking for it. And so I hope everybody's feeling the love on this Friday for public schools and all education. And we're going to just love this Friday by sharing our love and our learn. And so before we do that, though, right from the top, I wanted to pivot and ask Ellen a question here. A couple of episodes back, Ben Hannick of ESU 4 joined us and was talking a little bit about the transition from their current building to their new building. And in the midst of that, the ghosts of ESU 4 became a hot topic. So, Ellen, he told us that you would be the person to talk to about ghost stories at ESU 4. And now I'm curious. You might have to start us off with just a little more insight into that.
I do have a couple of different experiences, and I honestly think some of us don't believe in the ghosts here at ESU 4, because we used to be a mortuary. This building has had lots of lives, but we have a former staff member who died while he was on staff. He did not die in the building, but he died while he was on staff. I actually have his office, so I'm in Bill's office, and we believe Bill is here with us. And so one night, Chuck down the hall has one of those candy bowls, that when you put your hand in it, it goes, woo. It was Halloween time. And so I had a late night meeting, or I had an evening meeting. And so I was working and the bowl kept going off and it kept going, woo. And then finally I said, okay, Bill, I know you're here. And it stopped. So that's so he every once in a while he'll peek in on me and just make sure I'm here. I can sense that he's there. So Bill's a comforting presence. But we have lots of other stories too. But I'll stop with Bill.
Oh my goodness. Yeah. Wow. That's that would be terrifying. I'm not gonna lie. If that noise was accompanying that, then all of a sudden it quit. Yeah. Oh goodness. Well, we want to welcome it. Thank you for that story. We want to welcome everybody to our conversation, our love and learn today. I'm going to throw a little ticker up that shows us that. And we're going to really just jump right into it here and start with our round of loves from this week. It's so uplifting to hear these each and every week, to hear what's going on in the lives of our ESU colleagues across the state. So Kristen, start us off. What's one thing you absolutely loved from this week?
From this week, this was really hard. I have a love post-it, and then I have a learn post-it, and then I have an idea post-it because I know I'm going to learn from this group for sure. Lynn, right. Yep, great minds think alike. Yep. Okay, my love right now, and I got this idea or this piece of technology from Lynn, and it's called Glide, and you can make your own app. So I'm going to try to be quick here. So I really like the 4 Tendencies book by Gretchen Rubin. And I've learned that I am a rebel. That is my tendency. So during Christmas break, you had 18 days for free on Noom because I wanted to work on being more healthy. And so I'm on Noom, the app that helps you with your psychology of, taking care of what you eat and sleep and water, all that good stuff. Mm-hmm. And it was a little too rigid for me. And so I'm a rebel, and I decide I'm going to learn as much as I can in these 18 days with Noom. And then I'm going to make my own app, which I did through Glide. And so I track my own water and my own calorie intake. And I have inspirational photos for myself when I'm feeling a little low. And I'm tracking my weight. And I'm doing everything that I was doing on Noom, but I got to customize it for myself. And so that's my new love. I'm on day 4. So we're going to see how this goes. But yeah, I just decided to make it my own. And I've realized, I read a quote I'm a big fan of Richard Feynman, the theoretical physicist. And he says, unless you create, you do not learn. And I tell you what, because I was so motivated to take all the good stuff from Noom, but make it my own. I have learned so much about Google Forms, Google Sheets, Data Studio, and what I just referred to as Glide. So that's my current journey, my love journey. I'm trying to take care of myself so I can take care of others and support others.
Okay.
Wow.
And I have
That
so
seems
many.
like a mic drop to me. Right?
I know.
Like,
We're done.
No,
We're
my
done.
learn is much smaller
No.
kernel.
Shut the computer. We're done.
No.
Well, okay. So I have so many questions now at this point. And so
Okay.
the first one is going to be what makes this like, and you have folks out there like, oh yeah, Kristen, rebel at heart. What are the characteristics of a rebel in this? And then I want to ask about Glide here in a second too, but go ahead. Let's start with that one.
Hacker used to have a bad connotation, and now in the education world, being a hack means you're willing to problem solve and question and think outside the box. And especially kind of in the paradigm we're in right now, we're all hacking. We're all hacking our current situations. So I just hacked my own self-care. Rebel it means that in terms of your internal and external expectations, you really guide yourself and you really appreciate some autonomy. I will say the other tendency is obliger, and I'm rebel obliger. And obliger means that I need something to keep me accountable, to keep me motivated. So making my own app and being able to, after I drink 6 ounces of water and I plug it into my app, that allows me to fulfill my personal expectation. But as a rebel, I have a pretty powerful tendency to create expectations for myself. I don't necessarily need someone else, but it does help me if I sign up for a race, or I can document and track my progress.
Nice. I feel like I would be a rebel at heart here. And you know what? Actually, Jackie is right with you too. I'm feeling that for sure. Lynne, will you tell us a little bit about Glide in this moment? I mean, too. I know we're kind of interrupting the love and but I'm learning here, right? This is fun.
Yeah.
Let's just go
Well,
ahead.
I think Glide, how I learned about Glide is tied to my love, which is really educators all around the world. And last February, because I had been involved in a Google Innovator cohort that met in Sweden in November of 2019, I had connections with a lot of educators from across Europe. And we had posted in our cohort group from a teacher in Rome in February who said, so there's something called COVID going on here and our schools are closing. And it was only vaguely on our radar and on my radar at that point. So I said, tell me more, we need to be ready. She put me into a group of educators who had been already closed for several weeks, mostly in Southeast Asia. That led to a flood of resources coming into a Facebook group called what is now called the Global Educator Collective that has about 150,000 educators from around the world. And that's a group that I help manage. The resources that came in, we couldn't find later. And they were things like, here's an emergency plan for how do you send people home. Well, I had heard of Glide, but I really didn't know much about it. I went to the Glide support community so that we could find a way to organize these resources. And a very kind volunteer who turned out to be Kyle, who was a health educator in Canada, offered to show me how to make Glide work for our group. And so that Glide app had about 10,000 users during the busy part of March when we were all trying to figure it out. So it let American educators learn from the experiences of the educators in the world who were a few weeks ahead of us at that time. So it was very fast. Through our ESU network, actually, the word got out really quickly about how to get those resources to give us a little bit of a kernel to prepare. So, and I would say with Kristen, like I am a questioner in terms of my tendencies. That's one of the other 4 tendencies that Gretchen Rubin has. And that means you need justification for everything that you do. So I have so many questions for Kristen that I'm going to have to ask her after this. Like, what didn't you like about Noom? What worked for you? What did you put in? Other teachers will use that. Will you share that file with me? Like, that's how my brain works all the time. So that's a little bit about Glide, and it's free. And it basically just, if you have a spreadsheet, you can click a couple buttons and it looks like an app on your phone, even though it's not an official app. You don't get it through the app store of any phone. It's just really a bookmarked spreadsheet that looks like an app, is the best way I could describe it.
Wow. And that's like pretty graphically appealing there too.
Yeah.
Very.
Put together.
Yeah.
That's
So
true.
do you get to choose some of those graphics, Kristen?
You choose everything, Ellen.
Yes. So
Well, there you go.
Ellen, any picture I wanted. So on the front of my app is my homepage. And I literally just took the links of these pictures in my drive and put them in the spreadsheet that feeds into Glide. I will say we also used Glide. We have substitute teachers that we were training in our area. And so on Glide, I was able to give them a tab that was all of the districts that would possibly give them a call, and it takes them to their website. All of our resources in terms of behavior management, rules and procedures, all of our slide decks, all of our tips and tricks, we just could link our slide decks to a spreadsheet that went right to their phone. Because we're talking about Hastings College students are the ones we were working with. This is what they're carrying around with them. This is what they need in the moment. And it worked beautifully.
And really, you're just saving a website bookmark, which happens to be a spreadsheet, as an icon that looks like an app. That's been the biggest challenge, is I had to stop calling it an app, because even if I said it's not really an app, immediately there would be 20 comments on a Facebook post that said, I can't find it in the app store.
Oh.
We'll work on another tack in here. So yes, it's a great tool.
Super cool. Gosh, you may have just taken my learn for the week, and we're not to that segment yet, but if nothing else, add it to my post.
There you go. Yeah.
So, Ellen, we'll turn to you then in this moment. What's your love from this past week?
Well, I don't know how I follow that. As far as that goes, I'm going to go old school on us. As an ESU person, we're used to being in the schools all the time. So this year has been really hard, and we do a lot of this, right? We do a lot of Zoom or whatever. This week, as a special ed director, I get to be involved in a lot of meetings with parents and different things like that. But this week, I got to go to a couple of districts and be there in person. We had masks on, we were appropriately distanced, but there's nothing better than being in the room with a group of people who are writing a plan for a student, and we're all focused on that plan and that synergy. That's the part that I love. Whether we're planning an event or whether I'm working with a student team or whatever, just being in a team with people where you're working on the same plan and you have the same goal, that's like the best thing. And so I got to do that twice this week. And so felt really good to be in the same room as everybody else and not to have a computer screen around their head or a box around their head. So slowly but surely. So there you go. Yeah.
That's mic drop number 2.
Yeah.
Seriously.
Thank you.
That was really good. Really good. Lynn, you said that it was related to what we were talking about. So if you covered it already, just let me know.
Well, I would just say in general, my list just changed, because what I love every week is hearing about somebody who took the kernel of an idea that I may have helped plant at some point and then went with it. That's gives me the most joy in life. I'll say that one of the things on my list is I listen to a lot of audiobooks, and I have learned, I'm going to combine my two here, knowing our time is flying. One of the things that's been a challenge for me this year and always is I feed off of new ideas. So in the Gallup Strengths, ideation, no matter how many times I take the assessment, always comes in as number 1. New ideas, and I usually get those exposures to experiences, right? Which COVID has pretty much shut down.
Right.
So one of the things that I did this year, starting in January, is I decided I would not read the cover or the summary of any book. I would just, if I heard somebody mention a title, I'd put it on hold and read it when it came up, so that I'd have some tiny kernel of adventure in life. And that has led to reading a lot of books lately. I love books every day, and especially this week. But what I love specifically is in the Libby app, which we can all get through the public library system in Nebraska, is the button called Deliver Later. So I'm on hold for every book I hear of, and it seems like they always come on 5 at a time. So I can press it'll come up and say, it's your turn for these 5 books. I can't read them all in 3 weeks. Deliver Later lets me do a little slider, and it keeps my place at the front of the line. So basically, I let one person in ahead of me, and then it's my turn again. If I'm not ready, I can say, give me 7 more days, and I never lose my place in line. So books I always love. I especially love the Deliver Later button in Libby.
I wish we had that button in life. Every line.
I thought about that a lot.
That's what I was thinking.
Like deliver in 325 days after the vaccine. That's what I'm doing with right now. I'm still making the list, but I'm having to wait a long time.
Yeah.
Oh, that's so good. That's so perfect. Oh gosh. Well, yeah. Again, how do I follow all that stuff up? And I certainly want to share too that Ellen, you have some people feeling that too about being in person, and I'll be brief and say that truly was mine as well. I was grateful that ESU 7 invited me to come out and share a little bit of our resources, and I hung out actually for the whole of the morning on Tuesday, and I stood up and I go, I'm presenting standing for the first time in months.
Yeah.
So fulfilling to actually like be in a room with people, and it really like filled my bucket. And I thought too a little bit about a conversation I had this week with my daughter where she was kind of like down about school, and I shared it then and on Monday also, I think. But just that even when you're in person too, started right the relationship piece, but I think it's just now that we're getting into the January, February, just really trying to get back to thinking about those strategies that help promote a positive culture where people are just excited to be there, and that play is still a part of the experience too. So anyway, that was my love from this week, right online with what Ellen was sharing. So let's move to the learn from this past week, and we'll start with Kristen.
I am a big fan also of Dr. Tim Elmore, and I listened to a recent webinar, and it was talking about social emotional learning, but he really went into the realm of assessment. And of course, Elmore teaches about visuals and emotion, that the way our brain is wired, visuals and emotion, we see things in pictures. We're highly visual learners. And if it can have an emotional attachment via being an experience, you're more likely to retain it and put it to use and make connections and have access points. So he loves acronyms as well, because that is something that is easily retrieved. And his acronym this time was PROVE. And it was about, how do you know your students are learning? Did you provide PROVE? P is for, and I'm not going to look at my notes because I'm really going to I'm going to model this.
Just a minute, let me get my pen.
Okay, P is, I have mine too, Ellen. I've been writing down lots of my notes from today. Yep. P is for problem, meaning there's a scenario, there's a storyline, there's some kind of connector that makes you critically think about it. So P is for problem. R is for relationships. We know how key they are, just as Ellen spoke about being face-to-face in a room. That just, the level of learning goes up because you have an emotional connection. You can see body language. The O is for ownership. A big part of culture responsive teaching and learning, because that's something that I'm reading a lot about, is transitioning from dependent learning to independent learning for all learners. So applying ownership and that gradual release is really key. V, not a shocker, is visuals. And E is for experiences. Putting it to work, putting what you question, what you think you know, then applying it to find out if you truly do know. So that's PROVE is just something that I haven't used in any presentation or facilitation with staff, but it will come out, it will come up. It's something I could remember. I didn't have to look at my notes. And it just reminds me of how crucial emotions and visuals are. And can you prove what you know and how you can apply it? That's my big one.
I'm still finishing up my notes over here. Gosh, these are so fun. These are just really fun for
We
this.
could go all day. Now I'm not nervous. I was breaking out earlier. You can tell I still am. Vulnerability is
That's
the
because
new.
you're done now.
I was going to say.
Yeah, that's
Check.
true.
Oh,
That about now that it's okay to be vulnerable. It's okay to fail. It's okay to learn in front of other people because that's what you see and that's what you can model and you can mimic, and that's what we should be doing.
Mm-hmm.
yeah, and we're all friends here.
Absolutely.
So this is all, it's good. It's good.
Yeah. Yeah.
Ellen, what's something that you learned this week?
I think it's something that I continually relearn, or in this year of COVID, I'm pretty adamant about the fact that I don't want to go back to the way things were. I want us to create our new normal, and so some of the things we've been learning through ESU PDO with the visual learning I'm sorry, I'm going to get it wrong. Anyway, the sessions that we've had, been taking some of those learning strategies and working with some classroom teachers, and not everybody's ready to talk about the future because we're still so stuck right here. But I guess every conversation that I have, I keep learning the fact that I might be on the right track. So I guess talk about being vulnerable. I'm putting it out there that I want to help us change the way we're doing what it is that we do, especially in special ed. And so I keep learning that when I start to feel discouraged, I have an interaction with somebody that reaffirms that I'm on the right track and that I need to keep kind of talking about that and talking about strategies. So this year in staff development for special ed, I haven't necessarily talked a whole lot about how to do special ed and the law and all that stuff. I've talked about strategies. How do we teach? And so that's what I've been focused on, and that's my learning. And I'm going to keep preaching the word that we have to create our new normal.
Oh, that's so great, and Amy's giving you some love there too.
Thank you, Amy.
Yep, it's great to see that those sessions are transitioned into the work that we're doing, right?
They are.
That's so great. That's so great. Lynne, I know you said you shared your learn, but I know that you're a pretty knowledgeable individual, and certainly might have another one in there too. So
I have a long list, and I have already added to it from just from today. So, so what I had come here to say is that one thing that I've learned this year so far is this book, The Power of Writing It Down. I've always been a words person. I've always been a journaler, but I've changed how I'm journaling this year. And in part through a course that I'm taking by Gretchen Rubin that Kristen mentioned. She was first known for writing a book called The Happiness Project and years ago. And she's turned that into a year-long course. I think as an online teacher, I have a responsibility to always be an online student in some way. So I enrolled in her course. And basically it takes what would normally be New Year's resolution type things and spreads them out over the course of a year, where every month is a different theme. So January was self-reflection, get to know yourself better. So I've tried to use my journaling for that. Part of getting to know yourself better is choosing your word of the year, something that many of us have done over time. And as I reflect on my words of the year in the past, brave was a big one for me, which I think ended up, Ellen was in Sweden and partly due to brave. But as I thought about that, the word of the year sometimes becomes a burden to me because I feel such a great responsibility to live up to it. And this year, my word of the year is cottywomple.
Yeah.
And cottywomple, I thought, fits perfectly. And every time I think of cottywomple, I can't help but smile, partly just because of what it sounds like. But what cottywomple means is to move deliberately to an unknown destination. And I feel like right now in the times we live in, that's just the theme for the world at the moment. So to me, that destination is more self-awareness, being more open. So partly that's why I'm reading all the books based on title only that someone recommends. And I think for me, part of that is I feel like the world is very much right now, you know where you stand on something and you look for information to back up your current stance. And one way to me to fight against that is I'm reading books because I saw them mentioned, not because I read the cover and think, I think I would like that book. but maybe it will stretch me more if it's not something that I read and it sounded appealing. So it's really important to me to be respectful of different ideas without changing mine. I know as a little girl in Sunday school, I was always taught God can handle questions. I think all of us should be able to handle questions about our beliefs, no matter what area they stand in. So I think we can hold separate beliefs and, get along. And I'm hopeful that the world will get there too.
Gosh, isn't that the quote that it's a mark of an educated mind to be able to entertain an idea without having to accept it? I think that's a quote thing.
Yes.
Sorry, whoever that's for. I just know that's a thing. And Lynne, so, the power of writing it down. How in the world do I spell cattywampus?
Cottywomple, C-O-T-D-I-E, I believe. I have to check that part often. W-O-M-P-L-E.
Mm-hmm.
I'm on a mission to find someone with a large enough Cricut machine that I can get it printed out and put on my wall so that I can actually look up and smile. Like Chris, I see your words, Kristen. I need big words.
Where is it?
There it is just to me. I can't wait till I do actually get to go to a destination, but I'm not quite, we can't yet.
Mm-hmm.
Yet's a very powerful word too.
Right.
Well, if you're watching this and you have the ability to make Lynne's dream come true, please reach out to one of us and make this happen, because I want to see that.
The extra factor is that Lynne has very little crafting skill. Lynne is clearly a word person. So I've already had people offer to print out the letters. If I tried to line them up on my wall, it would be Cottywwampus, which is different from Cottywwample.
Yeah. That was so great. And you know what? People are really appreciating this too. I want to share some of these. And so, Larisha saying that working on getting that signed for us. And Jen appreciating that idea of just being respectful of other people's ideas. And you also incited this sharing of words. And so if anyone else has a word that they'd like to share that's commenting, we can do that. Amy said her word is balance. And I'm with you.
I've had balance, Amy. I had to give that one up earlier in the year, I'm afraid, though. So I wish you luck, my friend.
I was going to say that was a word that's been a word in my past. Yep. So, yeah.
Oh, and
embrace.
Yeah. That too. Well, so thanks.
I'll give you one more quote, Andrew.
Let's do it.
This week. Jackie Ediger and I from ESU9 had the chance to participate in FETC online this week, an opportunity that we, were fortunate to have when we couldn't travel. And one of the keynotes that we heard quoted, I believe it's Mark Anthony who said something along the lines of, if you love what you do, you'll never work a day in your life. Mm-hmm. And the keynote speaker, who's a superintendent in Texas, said, I used to think that was the ideal I was holding it myself against. But I love what I do, and I've never worked harder in my life to do it. Mm-hmm. And I feel like that better describes me. I absolutely love what I do. If I'm not working hard at it, to me, I don't feel like it's a good match for me. So that was just one of those thought twists. Because I always hear, if you love what you do, you'll never, feel like you're working a day in your life. I actually really like to work hard at the things that I love. So,
gosh, it's so true. Because I spend so many nights cutting sleep short to be able to squeeze more hours in to get something done that I'm just so excited about. But it kicks my.
Kristen's app can help you with that.
There's an app for that. Yeah.
There's an app an almost app, a not quite
almost app. Right. So Jackie appreciating obviously that experience as well. And Jen shared out her word being alignment. Nice. Mine has been listen at times this year, which is kind of like balance. Just when I do get askew, to just throw the brakes on a little bit and try to bring it back in. But all right, where are my notes here? I've taken all these other notes from all the things I'm learning that I don't even have it down. My learn for this week really has just kind of been through some exploration into how do we understanding that it's been a really challenging year and that the potential for growth is still there despite kind of our maybe being exhausted with our efforts to maintain and to grow as much as we've been forced to during this time as just educators in the present circumstances. I really am interested in trying to think about ways to just do very quick, bite-sized PD that can reach people in a hurry. And one of the things that I'm most intrigued by right now is trying to put together social media stories that teach little snippets or could promote little things through something like Instagram, where you kind of learn a sentence at a time, and in about 5 clicks, you can move on, but maybe have a link at the end and I don't know, maybe get a chance to build people up by putting their face in, here's our ESU friend who you should reach out to if you want more on this. And I have learned a lot this week in thinking about graphic design and thinking about what it would look like to craft those experiences. And I'm really grateful to Stephanie Bernthal, who is super talented, has an amazing backstory of how she got into the ESU. I just learned this yesterday, and that was really cool. But we've been collaborating on that. Brooke Cavan, after I was out at ESU 7, she jumped on board. So the 3 of us are kind of tinkering with that right now. And so I'd in part share that because if anybody else is interested, look for our communication coming up or reach out. But that is something I don't have much knowledge in and have found myself this week really enjoying exploring from a creative standpoint. Because like Lynn, ideation is my number 2. Deb Paulman and I geek out all the time because she's also a top 3 ideator, and I love. It makes it hard for me to talk to people sometimes. I can be a little, but
I get subtle hints like they don't want to know as much as you do about this, or you need to give them 2 years after you plant the seed to come back to it. Then they'll be ready. So I understand, Andrew.
Oh gosh, yeah. My mind will go from A to E, and people are like, "What happened to the B, C, and D between there?" It's like, well. So anyway, here we go. Amy said discussion topic on learning forward. Okay, yeah, cool. And thinking through those kind of things. Well, I tell you what, that was a whole lot of fun. I really appreciate everybody joining us. This is every week. It's just such a joy to end the week on such a positive vibe and see the great work and the great learning and the passion across our state and our ESU network for what we wake up and do every day. Work hard, right, Lynn, in support of our schools. And so thanks to everybody in here and to everybody that joined in online. And we'll see you next Friday.
Sounds good. Thank you.